Okay.
Okay, then we will call this public meeting to order for Thursday, August 13th. We'll begin with an acknowledgement. Missoula County acknowledges that this event takes place in the Aboriginal territories of the Salish and Kalispel people. And now would you join me in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks for putting that up, Amy. Next, do we have any public announcements? No late breaking heretofore unknown counties joining the rail authority.
Hey, the meeting is not over yet, so.
I like it. Okay, any public comment on items not on the agenda? All right, seeing none. Are you guys getting feedback when I'm talking here? Is it just me? I'm not sure how to undo that.
Maybe if there are other folks on the line, if they could all mute their phones or devices, that would help.
Great, we'll give that a try. Oh, I think it worked, Dave. Well done. Good call. Okay, on our current claims as of July 31st to August 5th, 2020, received by the Commissioner's Office. Current claims total $1,171,681.03. And if you're curious as to how that money was spent, you can find out on our website. All right, we have a handful of hearings today related to our budget. But before we get to budget, our very own Dory Brownlow is going to talk to us about a resolution declaring an infrastructure deficient area that exists within Missoula County at the Y intersection area.
Thank you, Commissioner Slotnick and commissioners. This is the first step that the commission would be taking if it determines it appropriate to create a targeted economic development district in this area. On June 11, 2020, you directed a study to be done, an analysis of this area, and I'll bring up a map in a second. We hired consultants, community development services, Janet Cordish and Lynette Windmaker, who Janet is with us on the phone, so will be available to answer questions if you have some in a few minutes, but she is with us. So I'll go ahead and attempt to share my screen of the area that we are considering. Did the map show on your screen?
It does, yes, thanks.
Oh, good. I'm never quite sure it works. So the area that we studied is the, hopefully it shows up in your screens, is a green boundary, kind of we call it a squiggly line. And this is the area that we studied. It's generally industrial and commercial area in either the land use plan, growth policy, and zoning. One or the other or both. So we looked at this whole area as potential industrial improvement area out at the Y. This is the area that was studied for the resolution of an infrastructure deficient area. It is larger than the TED area that we will be proposing, so that if in the future the county wanted to enlarge a TED, there's already been a study done of this area and what is deficient. And it's not the subject of today's hearing, but the area that's in the black dash line is what we will be proposing as the actual TED area, which is calling it the TED ready area, because the zoning and the land use plan and growth policy match. Some of this area outside of there is either not zoned or there's some discrepancies between the land use plan and zoning that need to be corrected if it's going to be in the district. So this whole area is approximately 600 acres, and we met out there and include one of the engineers who's worked in the area, and then Shane Stack, also Public Works Director, met us on site to talk about, to kind of drove around, looked at the area and some of the issues that they have. And I'm going to run through a couple pictures to show you that are sort of illustrative of some of the issues. Here's some storm drainage, water drainage issues. Drainage issues creating a little bit of a lake in this property. As you may know, this is clay property that takes some good engineering and some expense to develop a drainage plan. Second one of the issues out here is the sewer line runs down the middle of some of the roads, but isn't stubbed out and needs some improved paving, but there's concern with improving paving while you're not, you don't want to take away access to the sewer. Third one just shows some one of the roads, which as you can see is deficient. There's many paved roads and there's some that are in decent shape, but you also have this. So those are the three that are sort of illustrate the issues out there in this area that, as you can see, would impact the ability to develop. So they really came up with several areas of infrastructure deficiency: the transportation, which would be the roads, water, wastewater, drainage issues, life safety, for instance, for fire, Missoula Rural Fire, which covers almost all of this area. Issues with getting fire trucks into their broadband. There's deficient broadband, and it probably impacts obviously a much larger area, but improving here could be really beneficial for the whole general area. And many other improvements would likely come up once start studying the area. The statement of infrastructure deficiency doesn't set forth like what the plan would be. It's really to show that there are infrastructure deficiencies in the area. And then if the commission later creates the TED, then the study would be done to determine what the deficiencies, how to correct those deficiencies. Brief timeline to show you so this, as I mentioned, is the first hearing on the adoption of the resolution of infrastructure deficiency. It doesn't create anything at this point. The next step will be a planning board hearing that Janet and Lynette are helping with and working with CAPS on that process, so we have that scheduled. The next hearing before the commission will be October 22nd. A TED is adopted through an ordinance, and this will be the first hearing on that ordinance. Prior to that hearing, notice will go out to all the property owners and have an opportunity to participate in that hearing. Then it's a second reading, November 12th. The TED would be created effective 30 days after that second hearing, and so that is December 12th. And our goal is to have this completed by the end of the year. So those are the dates. So far, the outreach we've done and helped with coming up with a statement of infrastructure deficiency. We had virtual meeting with Frenchtown School, DeSmet School, Missoula Rural Fire District, and Frenchtown Fire District. So that was helpful. And then I sent letters to all the property owners just as an advance notice and opportunity for them to ask questions. I've just got off the phone with, I think, the third property owner, and very productive phone calls, just inquiring, getting information about a TED and what that would mean. also send a letter to Jerry Dellis, the chair of the West Valley Community Council. I didn't hear back from Jerry, but I just wanted her to know this, be able to pass that on. This area is not within the community council district, but I thought it was important that they had information. So with that, I might, if you have some questions you'd like to ask either myself or Janet, did you want to make a few remarks?
No, excuse me. Hello, everyone, members of the commission. Thank you for having me here. Dory's outlined everything very well. Just one point of clarification, a couple of points of clarification, I guess. One is that we will, as Dory mentioned, if you choose to pass the resolution of necessity today, or resolution of infrastructure deficiency, we will proceed with preparing the plan for the area. And then that plan and the district that we identify is reviewed by the planning board for its consistency with your existing growth policy, as Dory mentioned, but it will be the plan that will be reviewed. The other point of clarification, with respect to the two lines on the map that Dory showed you, the green line again is the area that we looked at in terms of whether or not it was deficient in infrastructure that supports value-adding industries, and that's essentially the purpose of the Montana statute with allowing this kind of district to be created. And anything within the green line could eventually become part of the district because we've already gone through this step. But if for example, you wanted to expand the district outside this green area, but in contiguous with the dotted line, the dashed line, we could in the future do another assessment of infrastructure deficiencies. But this by doing this area as defined in the green area, if you wanted to add anything within this area, you would save yourself a step. So, and again, that dashed line indicates today's, if we were creating this today or this year, it's the only area that would meet the requirements as Dory mentioned, in accordance with your growth policy and land use. So that's, but it is, we try to help in terms of looking towards the future with respect to what areas you might want to add and wanted to include those.
Janet or Dory, I think you just explained this, but I'm not sure I quite get it. So where it really pinches in the center, again, that's because of the zoning that's in that area that doesn't allow the green line to be broader. Or I guess my question is why does it pinch in so tightly in the center?
Well, that is you're right, Juanita. It is it was partly a zoning. Primarily, it's the way the land use is currently designated. Great. So it's a paired process. One is, what does the growth policy say generally about land use in that area, and how is the area zoned? And the decision to follow those lines has something to do with that. Also, in terms of what kinds of improvements are logical to make, what we can do that creates connectivity through the area. So there's some physical limitations as well, but the underlying reason, as you point out, is the land use, the current land use designations and zoning regulatory code that's currently in place.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Dory, I had a quick, go ahead, Dave.
Well, I have a question for Dory. So have you received any comment or input from property owners who take exception with the infrastructure being deficient? Because I think about some instances within the city of Missoula, for instance, where urban renewal districts have been contemplated, and even if an area technically met with or aligned with the definition of blight, there have been instances I've seen where folks took exception with their properties being labeled with the moniker of blight. So similarly, are there folks out here who are perfectly okay with the infrastructure, even though some of us from the outside might look at it as being deficient?
Dave, I talked to just 3 property owners so far, and they all thought that the area was infrastructure deficient. The one I was talking to today even acknowledged that potentially his property value might increase just based on improved infrastructure, but he was okay with that because he wanted the infrastructure to be improved. So no, so far I have not had. That's why I wanted to get the letter out before this hearing, though, and those are the only comments I've had.
Thank you.
Hey, Dory, I had a question for you on those public meetings that you had with the schools, and what were some of the take homes that you're bringing away from those meetings?
Well, with the fire district, as they've experienced in the past, is their concern with lack of being benefit of that increased taxable value. So we will be working on if there's annexation. And so we are working on a plan to address that, to delay, have the city, if the city would agree to delay annexation for a period of time. Hope to have more details before our, certainly before our October hearing. So maybe we can have something at least agreed upon in more than just principle before then on how that would work. That was probably the fire departments. The school, Frenchtown School didn't, I don't believe he'd only been on the job a couple weeks, so he didn't have too much. Matt Dreesen was Desmet School.
I know what he was going to say.
Yeah.
More residential, less industrial.
Exactly, and I mean, I think our message was, if this is improved, there may be more residential in the area that is deemed residential under the land use plan, so that would be beneficial if there's more jobs out here. But he's leaning towards it should just be more residential.
Yep.
Members of the commission, Dory, I have some things to add. I have the notes from that meeting. Would that be okay to share those?
Yes, from my perspective, yes.
Just very, very briefly, in terms of the fire in particular, the proposed TED area is served by what are called static cisterns for water, which are not as effective as pressurized systems. So the fire department was interested in the possibility of identifying pressurized systems as a project that we could list in the TED plan as something we want to undertake. The roads are wide enough to accommodate fire trucks, but the pavement would certainly improve the time and accessibility of the area. The other is that and Dory's right in terms of the 2 primary concerns were the annexation, the concern that the district would be improved and then it would be annexed and they wouldn't get the long-term benefit from those taxes, new taxes, and the concern about the limitations on residential development. But there is a possibility, one of the things that we could do is in terms of putting additional pressure on those fire districts to undertake annual inspections. Certainly the county could enter into an agreement with them using some TIF funds to set up a program to help with that additional inspection need. So I think we can in the plan call for some things that would certainly help with rural fire concerns. Does anything? I think that's it. That's all I wanted to add.
You guys have any other questions?
No, love to hear if anyone out there has anything to say, I guess.
Yeah, any public comment?
Dave, this is Jamie Erbacher at WGM Group.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey.
How you doing, Jamie?
Good, how are you guys?
All right.
Good. I just want to say thank you to Dory and Lynette and Janet for working on this. I think it's definitely needed. We definitely see that there are infrastructure deficiencies in this area. And you may be aware, you may not, that we are working on a future subdivision and land development just west of Dayshaw Lane. And so Dory's green squiggly line, that would include the industrial area of the property that we're looking to develop. We realize that right now the property is unzoned, so before we go through and ask to be included in the TED, we would need to zone as well as subdivide the property. So we are working on that. But in order to develop that property, we would like to have sewer, which west of Dayshaw is not currently served by the city, and I don't believe the city plans on serving it. So that would be one deficiency that we would like to see if there might be some assistance through the TIF or the TED with eventually. And also that extension could then potentially help the area that is designated planned neighborhood grow as well by having that sewer extension. So I think there are some benefits, you know, even outside of the TED boundary and the squiggly line that could be gained from going through this process.
What do you think, Dory? Is sewer on the table?
Oh, sewer will certainly be studied. What form, I don't know. What and Jamie and I talked about this too. One of the first steps here will be to do a study and look at the long term as far as development in the area for those infrastructure, sewer, water. So while we wouldn't use TED outside of the district, it certainly could benefit the area outside the district when it's connecting. So that's definitely on the table, and will involve Jamie and their client in those discussions.
Great. Thanks. All right. Do we need?
Well, oh, sorry, Josh. Go ahead.
No, you were headed towards it. Never. I'll step out of the way.
No, unless was there anyone else out there? I wonder, or is that Jamie? It.
Thanks, Dave.
No takers.
Then I'll motion to request that the board adopt the resolution declaring an infrastructure deficient area exists within the Missoula County Y intersection area.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Thank you for bringing this to us, Dory. This will be of great help over the next ensuing years to this area.
Yeah. Great.
Thanks,
Thank
Janet.
you.
Thanks, Dory.
Thanks, Janet.
Yeah.
Thanks to all of you.
All right. Next up, we'll begin our budget hearings.
Josh, could I make a quick little announcement?
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, just for those of you who are on the call, thanks for joining. Just so you know, this is being recorded. So if your video is on, you may end up in the YouTube recording. So if you want to turn your video off, it's just on the little gray taskbar that'll appear when you move your mouse. Yeah, just wanted to let that be known for anybody out there who would like to not be in the recording.
Very considerate of you, Dory.
Emmy.
Dory, Emmy. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. On we go. Andrew.
Andrew, wait, don't we have a?
Oh, and we've got the Sealy Lake Refuse District, etc.
Yeah.
So Amanda.
I want to welcome everybody to today's presentation, the fiscal year 2021 Missoula County preliminary budget. Today's budget presentation will include public hearings for the Missoula County Fairgrounds District, the Sealy Lake Refuse District, various rural special improvement districts, and then we'll dive into the Missoula County preliminary budget. The special districts consist of the Fairgrounds District, the Sealy Lake Refuse District, and various rural special improvement districts, which support streetlights, sewer, water maintenance districts, parks and common area districts, and debt service districts, which support existing infrastructure improvements. Here's an overview of the timeline for the district assessment process. We begin in June with an analysis of the needs and the proposed assessment budgets. We're required by Montana law to post the notice of today's hearing in 2 consecutive Sundays in Missoula, which was done. And we mailed out postcards to over 7,800 homeowners notifying them of this meeting. Today we will hold a hearing to gather public comment on the assessment rates. And on September 1st at the Administrative Issues Committee, we will be asking the commissioners to approve the proposed 2021 assessment rates for those proposed districts. If anybody wants additional information or would like to provide public comment between today and the adoption of the assessment rates on September 1st, the special district page is up on the Missoula County website. For each of the districts, there's a detailed timeline available, and the proposed resolution for each rural special improvement district and budget is available. We'll start with the Missoula County Fairgrounds District. Excuse me. The fiscal year 2021 assessment will be for 3 mills, or approximately $744,927. This assessment has been unchanged and has been levied at this level in fiscal year 2018, 2019, and 2020. The assessment will be used to pay the debt service on the water and sewer improvements, as well as the restoration of historical buildings. Any funds remaining above those used for debt service will be used to fund fairgrounds renovations and site improvements. I'll take a pause and ask for any public comment or questions.
Is this a time for public comment?
Yes.
So I'm here with a group of people outside the Sophie Moise room in the courthouse, which was where we were directed to go to attend this hearing. And we were not told until about a minute and a half ago that we should call a phone number. So we just called in and caught the very tail end of that presentation. I think there's a group here that would certainly like to have heard the whole thing. And I think I can speak for the group when I say that receiving a notice to be in a certain place at a certain time and not being told that it's supposed to be done by call-in is incredibly frustrating.
Hey, Andrew, this is, do you mind just repeating it?
Well, I guess, Juanita, my question is for the caller.
Well, hold on here. Hold on here. I got 8 or 9 people gathered around my cell phone. I got it on speaker. Not many of them can hear what's being said. So how can we facilitate actually taking part in this public meeting?
I guess my question is, which public hearing are the folks on the line there wanting to hear? Was it the tax economic, was it the Y infrastructure deficiency public hearing, or was it this particular one?
Well, I got a notice of hearing. I don't know because I didn't hear what you were just presenting. So I got a notice of hearing sent to landowners. It says RSID R474 Mullen Sewer.
Great.
Okay.
That's helpful.
We just concluded the hearing for the Fairgrounds District. We'll be doing the RSID hearings after the next 2 hearings.
So you haven't missed anything yet. And so you're saying you
Okay.
got a notice in the mail saying, come to this hearing, but it didn't say that it was virtual.
Correct.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, it's dated July 27th. It says to be at the Sophie Moise room at 2 p.m. on the 13th.
It's awful. Yeah, we've been over for like the last, I don't know how many months we've been doing all of our public meetings virtually. I don't think we've had one in person since February.
Okay. Well, what can I do for the folks here? Because we're not going to all be able to hear you on my cell phone.
Yeah, let's think about this for a second. Emmy, do you have any ideas?
Yeah, I was just about going to say, if others have a phone, they can call into the meeting, and I can give you that number and the conference ID right now. Would that work, sir?
I mean, it's Chris Lounsbury.
Yeah.
I can go over to the Sophie Moise room and at least bring the computer up. We'll have to figure out a way for them to, they'll at least be able to hear it. We'll have to figure out a way for them to be able to give comment. And that I can figure out once I'm over there, but I can at least go over and pull up the screen so they can see the presentation and be able to hear that.
Okay.
Procedure-wise, Chris, can we take a 5-minute break? Will you do that and just resume? What has to be done in order for that to occur?
Yeah, I think that would be the most effective way, Josh, and I'll head over there right now and do that.
Thank you very much for that. And we'll just, I'll call back in 5 minutes.
And I guess if it's any consolation, we're not voting on this today, so.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we appreciate your efforts to accommodate us, and whoever's coming over here, you'll be there soon, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks a lot, Chris. Are we all back?
I think so.
Okay. Chris, thank you so much for helping those folks, and our apologies to people who got the postcard with the wrong information. That is indeed terrible and inconvenient. And thankfully you haven't missed the hearing you're after. So Andrew, please take it away with the Sealy Lake Refuse District.
Thank you, Commissioner. Now we'll go ahead and talk about the Sealy Lake Refuse District. The proposed assessment will be $150 per district property. That rate has remained constant over the last 10 years. In reviewing the budget, it's been determined that the same level of service can be provided safely and efficiently at the current rate. I believe Kim Meyer is here from the Sealy Lake Refuse District and would be available to answer any operational questions.
Any public comment? Anybody from Sealy curious about this?
So Josh, just so you know, for those in the Sophie Moise room to comment, it sounds like Chris will be calling in and letting them comment from there. So there might be a slight delay.
Okay,
so
no problem.
Just so you know.
Yeah, thanks for that. Kim, would you like to add anything?
Well, no, I think it's amazing that we haven't raised the rate for 10 years, and that we can continue to offer the same service at that level without raising the rate.
That is pretty amazing.
So I have a question for Kim, Josh. Kim, we had discussed previously the possibility of looking into some other options for recycling. Should that come to pass, how would that or would that not add to our budget deliberations?
Right, so I did reach out to Chad Bauer at Republic Services, and he's working on a proposal for if they could take over the entire recycling part of the district, and he hasn't got that to me yet. When he does, I'll analyze it and then forward that on to the commissioners. There is a possibility that could affect the rates because with Pacific, that is currently affecting the rate somewhat. And we are looking at possibly raising the rate next year just because it's probably going to be due just to maintain what we're doing. So it'll all factor in.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that's happening. And if you get something solid from Chad, just let us know about it.
I sure will.
Thank you. Thanks for taking that on.
Yes.
All right, Andrew, I would think carry on.
Okay. The county supports a variety of rural special improvement districts ranging from 35 street lighting districts to 4 water and sewer district maintenance districts, 6 park and common area districts, and 11 debt service districts supporting existing infrastructure improvements. The fiscal year 2021 budget for all RSIDs will remain the same. The assessment for individual properties will be based on the total assessment for the RSID. There's little or no change there. Division or merger of properties can affect the number of properties billed. As I mentioned earlier, the budgets for each RSID can be viewed online at the special district page of the county website.
So Chris, if you can hear this, this sounds like your folks would be interested in making up, having something to say here. So we're at the ready.
I don't know who wants to speak on. How do you want to? Do you want to go around the room for you guys, or? I don't know where we are here. So they just did special district hearing. There's no change in assessments for this year for any of the special districts. So this is the opportunity for public comment on rates in any of the special districts that were noted.
Okay. My name's Nate Wagner. I represent a landowner with a couple of parcels in the district, and we received a couple of different notices referencing different RSIDs. And I guess one of the questions is that my clients also have relatives who own property in the same exact area who didn't receive these notices. Are all properties assessed the same, or is it piece by piece? How does this work?
Well, if they're in the assessment district, the total assessment is divided by the number of properties there on a different assessment basis, depending on the type of district they're in. But if they're not served by that rural special improvement district, they wouldn't have gotten a notice.
So I've got two for RSID R474 Mullen Sewer, and one for RSID R488 Whippoorwill. Is that what's being discussed here today?
Yeah, we went over all of them together, and there's no increase in any of the assessments.
So the money those folks pay won't increase. It'll be the same as last year.
Yes.
Okay. And that's for 2021?
Yes.
And then will there be another hearing like this to set those assessments for future years?
Next year there will be.
Okay. What is the scope of the project that's being proposed for 2021 to be paid for from these funds?
Well, these are debt service districts that are they're paying for existing infrastructure improvements out there.
So past projects only?
Yeah.
Okay. And does anyone anticipate an increase in the rates for 2022?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Well, those are the questions I had right now. Thank you for your time. I'll see if anybody else has questions. Anybody else want the phone? Thank you. Yeah.
Well, we'd like to know what about the water district in Sunset West, and how much it's going to cost, and what's happening here. I don't have any water pressure on 2 of my properties, and I have to provide a special pump. And I would like to get a letter from the county giving me permission to take over the wells that are abandoned for 10 years on my property.
We could certainly pass those comments on to the Public Works Director.
Yeah,
Pardon?
Yeah, we can get you some answers, but we don't have answers for that today. Right now, we're just talking about the cost of these assessments for the next year, which are unchanged from the previous year. But on the technical side of it, like why the water pressure is bad, or if you could take over those abandoned wells, we'll have to check in with Deb Bell, but we could certainly do that. How would you like to be reached?
Well, maybe Chris is there, so maybe he can get the gentleman's phone number.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a really good idea, Dave. Sorry. Yeah, Chris, if you could just get the contact info from him, we'll make sure Deb Bell gets these questions and he can get answers.
I've already gotten permission from the county commissioners about 5 years ago that I could use them. And I want some paperwork saying that they're going to relinquish their obligation to the water so I can put a pump in and do whatever I want with them.
Right.
That's what I want.
Well, if Chris can get some contact info for you, we can move this along.
What they're suggesting, sir, is they'll have the Public Works Director call you and see if he can help get that paperwork for you.
All right.
What they're discussing today is the annual assessment that you already paid.
Well, what's the assessment?
Same as last year.
As I said, but what they're saying is there's no increase, so that assessment is not going.
See, I'm getting assessed for vacant properties too. And that ain't right. And I'm not getting the water pressure that I should get for what I'm paying. That's not right either. And I talked to the county commissioners 5 years ago, and they said they were going to do something about it, and they never did. So what do we have to do? You have to give him my phone number?
Yeah. Give your contact info to Chris, and we'll get working on this.
All right. Here you go.
So I will do that. I'm just going to see if anybody else wants to do that. But before you go, I will make sure to get that from you. Did anybody else want to comment?
Are we included in the sewer thing that they're doing?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know exactly where you live to know which assessment this is. So Sunset West is just water. Yes. So. Well, there's one on Mullen Road. Yeah, there's a few in Lolo and a few in other districts. Ma'am, did you want to? So, are you on sewer or septic out there? I'm sorry. I would not be able to answer that. I'll have you ask your question because I'm not the public works guy, and so I don't know if they can answer that or not. What district is the card for? So that would tell them. Sorry, thank you. Is it all right if I touch that? Thanks. So, commissioners, the question on this one. No, there are no increases in the assessments this year for the district. I just want to make sure I get the right district here for you. Is assessment? Oh, it's the front of the district. Sorry, and that's for our 489 Y sewer. Andrew, is that one is also in the section that is not increasing, correct?
That's correct. None of the RSIDs are.
Yeah, so there's no increase in that one either this year.
But I think what she's saying is she's paying for sewer, but she's not on sewer.
Okay, so let me. Okay, let me make sure I get your name and phone number so we can have somebody from Public Works give you a call and find out about that. So that we can do that.
I think that's the important take-home message is that there are no increases in any of these assessments for this fiscal year.
And I'd say the other one is that we're not equipped at this time and place to talk about technical issues, but we could get info to you.
So I'm sorry. So did you want to? did you want to comment or?
I have a question.
Sure.
On property off of Tayshaw Lane, I got a notice. And if I read this correctly, by the year 2021 taxable year, they're going to raise taxes twice. A TFI fund and then an RSID. So if I read this correctly, my property taxes on my property is going to be increased twice.
So if I can, sir, can I see that for just 1 second? Just sorry. So this is a proposed TED creation of one. It does not exist yet, and they are currently taking public comment on the future potential of creating one, as well as the RSID. Neither of those decisions have been made, and they don't currently assess for either of those.
I understand that. But
yes.
The county commissioners are definitely going to do it. They just given us time to get over the shock of a double tax.
Well,
so you don't get.
I can't.
There's no taxes assessed if property is inside of a TED. There's no new taxation.
There's no additional tax associated with creation of a TED. The TED does not create a new tax.
Maybe Dory can tie in with this gentleman and explain in a little greater detail.
The funds are accrued from property taxes that result from increases in taxable value. If that's not a tax, what is? That's going to cost more money out of my pocket.
And I can have Dory call you, sir, to explain how that works, because my understanding will be incomplete. So,
and then down here, they want to pay RSID, a
rural special improvement district.
Right. That's two taxes.
It sounds like it would be, my suggestion would be Dory and Public Works tie in with some of these folks, because I think there's some misunderstandings as far as the implications of a TED district and also
an RSID.
That, an RSID, and if you're not already paying into the RSID,
you're not going to.
Yeah, you're not going to.
Yeah, and the TED is no new. The TED doesn't increase your taxes at all.
That's not what I'm reading in this letter.
Yep. But it'll be good to have Dory and Shane walk folks through this.
Chris, can you make
right here, black and white, saying my taxes are going to go up twice?
No, I think there's misunderstanding there.
If you're not already in the RSID, you're not going to be.
I'm deferring to what they're saying to you. So.
Yep.
Hey, Josh, it looks like there's a Carrie H. Who has a question.
Oh, I'm glad you can see that. I can't see that. Carrie, please ask away.
Hi, my name's Carrie Harper. I'm a local homeowner, and I just am learning about this process.
I'll give you a call. Yep.
So thank you for, if I ask ridiculous questions. One would be, I've kind of gotten online and tried to look and see what the rates are for the current RSID, and I'm really struggling and would love some pointers and can email someone. I'm happy to do that after, who can point me in the direction of how I find that information out. That's one question that I have. If the rates aren't going up, what were they and what are they currently? I've looked through the budget and whatnot, and I don't see it according to the RSID number that I have on my card, and I'm just curious. And also, do RSIDs ever overlap? Can you have a special improvement district, like if I live close to the Fairgrounds, and I also live close to, I think, another area. Do they ever overlap so that I'm charged twice for different things or the same thing?
The Fairgrounds Special District, only the county is being charged for that.
Okay.
You can live in an area that has two RSIDs in it. For instance, you may be close to a park that you're paying for and be in a lighting district as well.
Okay. And then all in all, how are the SIDs decided? How are they proposed in the beginning?
that's a process that begins with findings and a description of the RSID, and the majority of the landowners have to agree with the terms of the RSID and what improvements are going to be made. And then a vote is taken by the County Board of Commissioners to create that RSID.
So to be clear, an RSID is money collected to address a specific service need. I'm just going to make something up. Like in one area, let's say the roads are deficient and it's outside of what Public Works can typically do. The neighbors who live in that area, if a majority of them want to, can ask us to create an RSID, and the money collected would go to address that road need. So we can't impose one upon a neighborhood. People, a chunk of people in that area would have to ask.
Okay.
And it's for a specific improvement.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Those are my questions. Allison, thank you for the link. I will pull it up and see if I can find more information. Appreciate all your hard work. Thank you for answering my questions.
Thanks for the questions.
And Carrie, if you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to email myself. I'd be happy to help you out.
Okay, who was that, Andrew?
Yeah, my email address is on the end of this presentation.
Okay, thank you. And also one last question. Will this presentation, goes up on YouTube. Is there a link just to the PowerPoint or whatever you're using?
Yes, there will be.
Okay, thank you.
All right, keep it rolling, Andrew. Thanks.
Okay. Now, I'm going to begin the Missoula County 2021 preliminary budget hearing. I will begin with a discussion of the proposed 2021 preliminary budget, then transition into an overview of property taxes, and we will end with a review of all new budget requests. The commissioners, we're following a value statement here that was developed in a strategic planning session where we're following our mission values, and we have a number of them here that we've tried to use as our budget goals for the coming year. Under responsible financial management, the department heads were asked to use available resources first and find ways to innovate in providing service to the community. In economic development, we chose to honor contracts with community organizations and businesses that help deliver a variety of services, from engineering work for Public Works to supplying resources to help community organizations provide rental assistance. Under the quality workforce goal, we chose to retain a skilled workforce by providing a living wage and honor our union obligations. 85% of the county workforce is represented by a union. And provide a health, safe, and vibrant community, providing services in ways that keep employees and the public safe during the COVID-19 pandemic was preeminent in our minds this year, such as having this presentation today online. And I think the last two, did you want to talk about, Josh?
Yeah, so a couple others that we had heard from our constituents that were really important were social equity and environmental sustainability. In terms of social equity, making sure that the services we provide get to everyone in our community, and that the people who work for Missoula County represent our community, and that racial and economic inequities don't result in poor representation or lack of good services. So we're attempting through our budget to make sure we address those things as best we can. Similarly, with environmental sustainability and climate change, we've heard loud and clear that this is really important to people. So we're attempting to address those things as well. And you'll see towards the end of this presentation where in our kind of new initiatives, how we're prioritizing these things. Dave or Juan, would you want to add anything?
I guess I would just add that as this budget has been developed, and as you'll see in the slides to follow, we have endeavored to be as frugal as possible, recognizing that we are in the midst of this global pandemic, but at the same time recognizing that we need to set ourselves up for success and prepare for and invest in economic recovery. So it's a bit of a balance there, but it's not been lost on us that this is a difficult time that we are all living through, and nonetheless, we need to be responsive to the community and recognize that we need to continue to invest in this community.
Yep, and I have nothing to add, so keep going, Andrew.
Okay, thank you. Missoula County has always prepared and implemented a structurally balanced budget, meaning that our budget is not only balanced, but ongoing expenses are funded by ongoing revenue, and one-time expenses are funded by one-time revenue or available cash. In terms of our total revenue and cash resources, $170.2 million in revenue, 54.7% of that is coming from property taxes. I believe that's about 32% of our total revenue budget. 9.7 million is coming from cash resources from previously issued library construction bonds, remaining open space bond dollars, and cash savings from prior fiscal years. Total expenditures this year are going to be 168 million, and the difference there is some debt proceeds where we're having additional revenue over what we are expending, but the debt proceeds will be spent over a number of years. Just breaking down the revenue, property taxes about 34%. Entitlement share that we receive from the state is around 3%. Transfers in 9%. Debt proceeds this year were down to 1%. And other revenue, that's intergovernmental fees for services, grant revenues, makes up the majority of that, and that would be 53%. Expenditures, personnel is generally our largest expenditure at 44%. Operations, it decreased somewhat this year. We're down to 33%. Capital decreased as well as we conclude the build out of the library and the election center. Debt service is 5%. That's remained, it's slightly higher than last year. Transfers out match the transfers in at 9%.
So Andrew, just for people who are listening in or called in, what's an example of an operation expense?
An operational expenses, gosh, anything from, let's see, anything except personnel and capital is considered operational expenses. So they would be services that are being provided, and those services and supplies that are used.
All the materials that it takes to create these things.
That's correct.
Thanks.
The Montana Department of Revenue determines the property valuations for each property in the county each year. The DOR reappraises those values every year, every other year, excuse me, and this is not a reappraisal year. The market value is what the price that the DOR determines a willing buyer and a willing seller would exchange property for. The taxable value is the portion of the market value on which the property taxes are assessed. The taxable value for a residential home is approximately 1.35% of the market value of that home. The newly taxable property is new construction that has just been added to the tax rolls that take on some of the tax burden within the county. Taking a look at the market value over the last 3 years and into the current year, the market value jumped substantially between 2019 and 2020, and that was due to the reappraisal cycle and, quite frankly, the hot real estate market in Missoula County. The curve flattens out in the non-reappraisal years. The current market value for Missoula County is just over $16 billion. The taxable value of the county is the portion of the market value on which the taxes are assessed. So you would expect this to mirror the previous graph. The current taxable value of the county is just over $260 million, or approximately 1.63% of the market value. As I said, residential housing is about 1.35% of the market value, but we have some commercial and industrial mixed in here as well. This graph represents the last annual additions of new construction to the tax rolls over the last 4 years. The peak was in 2019 when we had just under $6 million of newly taxable properties added to the budget, or added to the tax rolls. This year we had approximately $4.7 million in newly taxable properties added to the tax rolls. In terms of total property taxes collected by the county, it's mirrored the growth in the market and taxable values. In 2020, some of the contributors to the increase between 2019 and 2020 was the voter-approved Missoula Library debt service, the acquisition and financing of the new Russell Street Election Center and Election Center equipment, and funding for the Weed and Extension Learning Center starting to be built out at the county fairgrounds now, as well as the hiring of a new captain at the detention center. The total growth in tax revenue from 2020 to 2021 is just over $1 million. All of this equates into a $17.34 increase on a $350,000 home, or $1.45 a month. Approximately $6.95 of the increase is used to sustain existing services, and $10.16 is used for new services.
Andrew, those figures differ from what I'm seeing on the screen.
Just by a little bit, but they do differ.
Oh, I'm sorry. They did differ. Yep. So I apologize. I'm working off an old sheet here.
Which ones are the correct ones? The ones on the screen?
The ones on the screen are the correct ones. We were updating the sheets this morning.
Can you read it again for folks on the phone?
Sure. We're looking at a $17.34 per year increase on a $350,000 home. That would equate to $1.45 per month, or $7.08 per year to sustain current services, $10.26 per year for new services.
Thanks.
You bet. So total property tax dollars were 54.6 million. As percentage of all revenues, it's 34% of our total revenues. The growth from 2020 was 1,181,138. The growth to sustain services, $641,111. The growth for new services, $540,027. The budget funding this year is a direct reflection of as the commissioners mentioned earlier, community values. The commissioners can always make better decisions based on community values when they hear from the public. Read more about our budget requests at Missoula.co budgets. It's on the Missoula County website. Please tell them what you think by emailing or leaving a voicemail at the address above.
And actually, do you want to give that phone number to folks who can't see the screens?
Sure, that phone number, the phone number is 406-258-4877, or you can email bcc@missoulacounty.us.
Thanks.
Okay. The new budget requests are a direct reflection of the county's value statement and are divided into the following categories. I wasn't sure if you wanted to make a comment here, Josh, or?
Yeah, I was just gonna, if you wanna, say these category names out, then I'll say something.
Sure. First one is diversity, equity, and inclusion. The second is justice, services, and reform. The third is sustainability and climate change. The fourth is safe and secure elections. The fifth is responsible growth and development. The sixth is public safety. The seventh is government efficiency and oversight. The last one is information security.
Great, thanks, Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
So as Andrew said, these values reflect conversations we've had with constituents and feedback we've heard generally over the last year, and our own desires to take action on those things. So you'll see in the next few minutes the specific initiatives that we're putting forward to meet these values.
And so we've categorized each of the new budget requests under these values statements and aligned our requests with these values. The first one in the diversity, equity, and inclusion category is our affordable housing initiative. It costs $70,742. We're using $31,965 from cash savings from previous years and $38,759 in property taxes. This is to develop a county strategy and role in addressing housing affordability, which has become a real issue for the commissioners here in the county to address. It will fund one full-time position to oversee the study and help carry out the resulting strategy. The next is an equity coordinator and initiative. This initiative is to ensure that Missoula County meets the needs of everyone in the community, and the employees and contractors hired to provide those services represent the diversity that we have in this community. It'll fund a staff member to evaluate all the systems and the processes to concentrate on social equity, which is an issue for us and across the nation right now. Funding source is $43,000 from cash and $56,457 from property taxes. The next one is a compliance coordinator. This will fund a staff member to provide trainings to departments and conduct regular audits of county services to ensure that the county is adequately serving citizens and employees of all abilities. Ensure compliance with Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, HIPAA. You can never get that right. By developing comprehensive trainings and coordinated response programs to employ a case of improper release of protected information. Funding sources, property taxes. The last one is Leadership Montana program participation by Commissioner Slotnick. Has participated in a statewide leadership program where they develop skills necessary to have hard conversations and work with diverse groups on challenging and critical issues. Under the Justice Services and Reform value, we're using $15,000 to do a strategic planning in the Justice Services area. It's fund a facilitator for strategic planning to ensure that all voices are heard and create an all-encompassing mission, vision, and values for the new department. This is a new department that will combine relationship violence services and the criminal justice coordinating counseling, hopefully enabling a more holistic approach, an innovative approach to criminal justice. Funding sources cash savings from previous years. The next ask is for a Missoula City County mobile crisis team. It's $50,000. Missoula County is matching funding for the pilot project. It'll fund 2 mental health professionals with basic medical training to assess and assist a person in crisis, and a peer support specialist and case manager to ensure the person receives follow-up treatment and mental health services. $125,000 of this has been secured in a state grant match to help fund the mobile crisis response team. Funding source is cash from previous years. Next one is it's $19,450 to hard fund a grant position that was used as a data analyst to produce numerous reports to inform the county's jail review team, county attorney's prosecution-led diversion program, and other data-informed initiatives that will ultimately cut the cost of prosecutions, jail bookings, and court processes. That's the objective. The funding source is property taxes. And also, we're making an effort to improve the criminal justice response team for $117,432. Past 3 years, the Relationship Violence Services has funded a crime victim advocate and just response coordinator with a federal grant. This request would fund those positions should the federal dollars fall through. The Crime Victim Advocate Program upholds crime victims' rights and assists them through the civil criminal justice system. Focus on survivors of relationships with sexual violence and stalking. The Just Response Program serves as a convener and a facilitator, coordinated criminal justice system response to domestic and sexual violence stalking. Funding source, property taxes. Then under the sustainability and climate change category, we're funding a 250 kilowatt solar array at the detention center. It's going to cost approximately $500,000, but we're going to be financing this over a 20-year period, so the debt service for that is $37,500 per year. The detention center by far consumes the most electricity of all the county facilities, and the funding source for this is property taxes, but we will have expected energy savings we'll be able to apply towards the debt service, and we potentially have a private investor interested in the investment as well. Then our 100% clean electric initiative, $35,000, fund economic analysis study to model the environmental benefits and rate impacts associated with pursuing a utility scale electricity program by 2030. We'll fund advocacy efforts to actively engage with the state legislature and the Montana Public Service Commission. Funding sources cash from previous years. In addition to that, we're looking at climate action resiliency contracted services for $30,000. This is the implementation of the Climate Ready Missoula Plan and implementation of the joint city-county 100% clean electricity resolution. Implementation of the Climate Ready Missoula Plan will build community resiliency to the impacts of climate change and start addressing the impacts related to wildfire smoke, heat, health, and buildings, land use, and transportation. The funding source for the $30,000 is cash from previous years. And also, we'd like to fund a climate resiliency coordinator. This is a full-time position that will coordinate county's climate resilience efforts and implementation of a climate-ready Missoula plan. And for this year, that would be $26,702. Under the safe and secure elections category, we're going to be prepaying postage on ballot returns this year. We'll be reimbursed for this through the CARES Act, and we anticipate this will be serve the public in getting a greater voter turnout and hopefully a nice, safe, secure election, keeping everybody healthy as well. Election security system monitoring. We need to monitor the elections area and the counting areas with cameras, so that's $2,400 for the camera installation there. And then temporary staffing for the November elections, the amount of $15,000. Although after hearing Bradley talk earlier today in the admin meeting, this may be a lower number than that. We're anticipating using cash from previous years. In the responsible growth and development area, we're looking at a Mullen area master plan public outreach effort for $5,000. This will fund some additional outreach efforts in light of the COVID-19 restrictions, help identify the critical infrastructure improvements before the area is developed, including the road grids, sewer, water, stormwater, non-motorized facilities, locations of urban agriculture, parks, detailed land use topographies. This will be funded by cash from previous years. Also, the Missoula County Zoning Code update, $35,000. This will cover the cost of printing the postage for countywide postcard mailing, provide notice of zoning updates, preparation of legal description that could possibly require outside services. We're using cash from previous years to fund this. Also, we have an impact fee study. Impact fees are imposed on property developers, new infrastructure, or new property development. The study would inform the commissioners of the effects of the different impact fees and the potential revenue that they could generate for the county to offset the expense of additional development. And there is additional expense with the new development, and it could come in the form of communications for 911, for extra people in the county, or other uses. So this would fund new additional requirements on the county for new development. Public safety. We're looking to do some courthouse security enhancements for $150,000. The funding source would be property taxes. We need to fund a number of security needs at the courthouse, which the courthouse easily receives the highest volume of public traffic of any county facility. First year enhancements would include the installation of security cameras in public spaces and the creation of an info security desk in the main lobby. Potential future plans include hiring contracted civilian security guards, installing bulletproof glass at public-facing workstations, and adding some metal detectors. And as I said, this would come from property taxes. And we'd like to add an attorney to the general crimes unit. We're seeing an uptick in crime in the Missoula County area, and our existing attorneys are overworked and understaffed. We need to get a new full-time criminal prosecutor in a general crimes unit. Adding another attorney would certainly help the unit's caseload and prevent burnout among the staff. That funding source is also property taxes. In the government efficiency and oversight category, we're looking to bolster the county auditor's office with a part-time audit technician. This will help Dave reach his long-term goal of adding an internal audit function. The auditor's office ensures county policies are followed and designs internal controls to safeguard against waste, fraud, and abuse in county government. Sources property taxes, and I think this is money well spent. Also, we're looking at a mock mini 350 turnkey system. This would digitize thousands of historical records currently stored on microfilm reels in-house instead of outsourcing the task. Having the digitized records, having as many digitized records as possible greatly increases the public access to them. And this machine will pay for itself within a matter of years instead of outsourcing it. The funding is cash from previous years saved in the clerk of court's office. Then we always hired a legislative intern during the legislative season. We've been very effective in communicating with the legislators on hundreds of bills that pass through the session each year. And this legislative intern will coordinate and communicate with staff on our legislative delegation, with our legislative delegation. Funding source is cash from prior years. In the area of information security, it's getting to be a hacker's world out there, and there's a number of things we're doing to increase security. And the first is to take on the disaster recovery issue. This is $9,000, and this will fund backup storage through a cloud-based provider rather than storage at a more expensive offsite physical location, which has been the practice in most counties up to now. Missoula County currently has limited offsite backup storage outside the courthouse, and it puts the county at risk for the critical operations in the event of a major disaster. This would be funded by property taxes. Also, the FBI and Montana Department of Justice has mandated all agencies in the state that access the criminal information system must implement multi-factor authentication for all users that access these systems by the end of 2020. And that's going to cost $25,000. Possible CARES Act reimbursement for this. Multi-factor authentication, if you're trying to sign into the website or into your system, it may send a message to your cell phone that provides you with a number that you have to type into your computer, and that gives you some verification that's actually you using the system. In addition, there's some hardware tokens for multi-factor authentication. Many users will require hardware tokens as a second factor for multi-factor authentication. And the funding source from this is also cash from previous years or possible CARES Act reimbursement. So just looking at the financial impact summary, the ongoing expenses, $609,410, or 54% of the impact. The one-time expenses, $426,078, or 37.93%. And we're getting reimbursed for $87,819, or 7.82%. For a total of $1,123,306 in new requests. Be happy to answer any questions or take any comments.
Thanks, Andrew. Anybody out there have anything they want to say? Please do.
Should you have any comments that you'd like to submit to the commissioners or appear in person at one of our admin meetings, we will have an ongoing agenda item on each admin meeting for public comment between now and September 1st, when the commissioners entertain the proposed final budget. For more information, you can go to the website at missoula.co//budgets. If you'd like to email, please email at budget@missoulacounty.us. And for budget comments, please email bcc@missoulacounty.us.
Thanks so much, Andrew and Amanda. I guess I just wanted to say, yeah, I so appreciate this, and this is only my second budget experience, and so and I think I alluded to this yesterday, but I'm really struck by how this time around we really spoke to the community's values, and this isn't just a transactional experience. Like, this is really a roadmap that has been created, you know, and I'm just proud of that. So thank you, and I'm really impressed by staff and the community, and looking forward to feedback that we're going to get.
I agree. I think it's been a whole new budget process. It's one that I really appreciate, and it's been directed by the commissioners. Let's face it, these are your values. This is what you're hearing from the community. This is what you've communicated to staff, and we put it together in an understandable format, hopefully.
Yep, and it really just speaks to the sort of community that we want to create, and that folks are worthy of living in and supporting. And I'm just, I've never been so excited about a budget process ever.
Very, very well done. I want to commend you all too on translating a language that's typically spoken in words like mills and taxable values into actual English and dollars and numbers that people can understand, and initiatives that will actually have an effect on how we lead our lives here in this great spot. So, budget, a fantastic job.
Yeah, I would echo that. Thank you to the budget team. What folks don't realize is that what today's presentation entailed was preceded by months and months of hard work and grinding out numbers and spreadsheets behind the scenes. So thank you.
Yeah, really well done.
Special thanks to Amanda Henthorn, our budget analyst.
Way to go, Amanda.
Yeah, Amanda.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you for the kudos, especially while my dad is here to join us today.
Oh,
does Dad want to offer some public comment?
No, he's not allowed.
Okay. No. Well, our next meeting is what's the date for?
Yeah, when's the next time we revisit this?
You'll be looking at the final budget on September 1st at your admin committee meeting. That's where we're going to ask for the adoption of the final budget.
Great. So for people who are digesting this, please, if you need some time to think this through, send us an email between now and then.
Just to provide a little bit of clarification on that, it'll be September 1st. We'll be asking you to adopt the special district budgets, and then we will have the final budget hearing again in this format with any updates based on people's comments on September 3rd. And then you'll adopt the county overall budget, hopefully September 8th. So
great.
There's several more times to say things between now and then.
Thank you, Amanda. I appreciate that clarification.
Yeah. Thanks.
Hey, Andrew, can I ask a question? This is Dave at the Missoulian newspaper.
Sure.
Is there a percentage that $17.35 equates to, or $17.34 on a $350,000 home equates to? Is there a percentage increase?
A percentage increase in terms of property tax? I think it was a 2% increase.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You bet.
And just to reiterate, David, it's less than $1.50 a month.
Gotcha.
If we have any other members of the media who'd like to ask questions, go for it. No other questions?
Great.
Speechless.
It's a lot of info. I'm sure we'll come up with more questions later.
Please do. Please do.
Yeah. Please feel free to contact me directly if you're there.
And then,
I will. Thanks.
Allison, where you're posting this presentation, where it's on the county website or where?
Yeah, it'll be at that missoula.co/budgets
Great
page. And we'll be sending out a media release too, just so you guys know, and we'll link to all of that stuff.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks a lot. Well, then, thanks everybody for coming today. This was a big hearing to have, and we're really appreciative that you all showed up. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.